That's through the GoPro, or that's through the?
No, this is through the regular one.
Okay, so you're doing both?
Yes. So we have multiple versions.
I'll never know where to look.
Well, it's right above. All right, I think that works. I think we're already live too.
Really?
Yeah.
Great.
On that one, yes. And on this one, now also yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
But we're waiting for somebody, so.
Well, I mean, we can probably get. Let me send her a message
Yeah.
and see what's up.
Well, and you'll be editing, right? So you can
Yes.
just edit out all this part.
Yes. You can just see if anybody comments. Just keep an eye out on that.
Yeah.
Because last time I need to figure out how to see it. Actually, that was my issue last time.
Sit in that chair over there.
I don't know if it's this part.
Oh, see comments you mean?
Do you want to sit right here and I can sit right here?
Sure.
You can probably move that back if you want a little bit, this projector, and try to make that on the wall a little bit bigger. I don't know if it'll.
All right, she's not answering, so we can probably go ahead and start.
Let's just go right in front of it.
I don't know if anybody's. Should have asked Amber to check it.
Oh man,
Oops.
the high-tech leveling system that you have there, or that I have there. You good? I think it works. You feeling comfortable?
I think it'll work.
All right.
All right. All right. I think we can go ahead and start.
Yeah.
If anybody shows up, they'll just catch up.
All right. Perfect.
I'll still stand over here. So for those of y'all that didn't hear when y'all came in, this is Dave from Lazy Magnolia.
Hello, Dave.
Hello.
He's going to be sharing a little bit with us about the brewery, about the beers, and then we'll taste and go from there.
Cool. Thanks. So what and we did this back in January in Houston.
Yes.
And we've been live with some tastings in Houston for a bit, so Sandra can chime in on anything that went well or went bad, or maybe questions that you might have. We do have all the tasting sheets too, and if I was smart, I would have printed all those out, and then you could have seen some of the comments that other people were getting faced with, like, oh, this isn't an IPA. Well, no, it's not, and and that type of thing, and then we could maybe handle an objection too, or at least have a good canned response for people when we're sitting there tasting them on it, and maybe that good canned response, even if it doesn't get them to buy it that time, maybe it'll be something that they're searching for next time. So the other key learning that I took away from the last time that we did this is I talked for about 45 minutes about the brewery and about 15 minutes on the beer. So while I'll try to balance that a little bit better, I'll try not to talk so long before we actually get to taste our first beer, because I feel like that's important too. Lazy Magnolia brewery, founded 11 years ago now, in southern Mississippi. We're about 45 minutes from New Orleans, 45 minutes the other way is Biloxi. We're right on 10. And we have some of the same weird brewery laws that Texas has, in that you can't buy product at the brewery. And then if you visited breweries, I guess 5 years ago in Texas, you know how you had to take the tour and you got a couple samplings, but you couldn't actually just buy beer and sit down. Yeah. We're still faced with that law. So we still have that going on in Mississippi. We brought it up this year again to try to, that's a cool picture, to try to get that legislation changed, because we understand how important it is to connect with our consumers through a brewery. It did not happen for this year, and we will push for it again next year. At the same time, we're pushing for sales out of the brewery. So if you really like something and maybe it's a limited release, you can buy a 6-pack or a 750 bottle or a 4-pack or something and take it away from the brewery. And I know Texas is working on that as well. I think that it's legislation that won't hurt our distributors any, and will just cause all rising tides cause all ships to float, right? So it'll just be better for the whole beer community. By the way, I don't have anything specific that I'm saying on each slide, so as you have questions, interrupt. Feel free. Okay, you're not gonna make me lose my place because I have no place. That's a picture of me, that's my phone number and my email. So really easy email, dave@lazymagnolia.com. Cell phone, I got business cards here too. I have business cards here too, so if you need to take one of those, feel free. And we've got some pictures of the brewery and what's going on in the brewery. I will say the top right is a husband and wife duo named Mark and Leslie Henderson. They're both engineers. He's an electrical engineer and fixes darn near everything in the brewery. He knows how to weld. He learned how to weld when Leslie demanded a work chiller. And Leslie is a chemical engineer. She comes up with the recipes. One of the cool things about having a woman brewmaster is she's not looking to hit people over the head. So our IPA isn't going to be like hitting you with a 2x4 pint, right? It's going to be nicely balanced. We have a rye imperial IPA, rye IPA, 9%er, and it's still really, really well balanced. So it's not like, you know, she doesn't put on the beer muscles and, oh, they've got 80 IBUs, we're going 95, and they went 103, we're going 120, and she's not about that. So you'll see with our beers, they're pretty subtle. Southern Pecan is 70% of our sales, by far our most popular. It's not going to taste like pecan pie, so we're not going over the top that way either, right? Jefferson Stout's made with sweet potatoes. There's a reason for that, but we're not going for grandma's sweet potato casserole, right? So just very, very well balanced beers from Southern Mississippi. Kiln is the name of the town, and it's looks like kiln. If you know anybody from Southern Mississippi or they walk up to you during a tasting and go, oh, I'm from the Kill, that's the same thing. The Kill means Kiln, Mississippi. I don't know how it got switched, but when you talk to anybody from there, they're from the Kill. So go figure. Mark, I mentioned, was a electrical engineer. This took the place of a person. So I don't know if anybody's ever worked in a brewery, but the 6-packs come flat and they're sort of perforated, and you got to go like this and then push them and then hook the little hook on the bottom and then set them over here, right? So this machine now does this for us. There's a set of vacuum tubes here that sucks onto the 6-pack and opens it up, and then it pushes it out and just automates. It's the only one known. So this was hand built in the brewery, and a pretty cool little tool that we have. You can see one just fell out over here. It's over here on the side. But just sort of a cool thing that we have at the brewery, and a neat thing that we have in Mark that we can go, hey, look, the keg washer's doing this. And he goes, okay. And he sits there from 10 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning and rebuilds the keg washer, or whatever. We are available right now in 18 states. I know New York is colored in. New York is home to some of the big brewery of the month or beer of the month clubs. The craft beer, they deliver a case or a 12-pack every month to your door. So most of our beer, we don't have regular distributors in New York, but we do have a system there where all of our beer goes into brewery of the month type stuff to help boost that awareness that consumers may have. So that's why that is colored in. You'll notice the big hole in North Carolina, and that was just sort of wrong place, wrong time. We are looking to fill that and have distribution in North Carolina. And then the other thing that you'll notice with this map, besides the fact it's stretched a little bit because of the technology that we're using, that we're both mostly south and east. And we probably plan on being here for quite some time. I say that if somebody like Albertsons or Kroger says you need to expand this way, or you know, if Chili's or TGI Fridays says, if you can cover the whole US, we're going to take you in and, you know, put 2 things on tap for the next year, we're probably going to try to figure out a way to do that, right? So we're not going to say no to great volume. At the same time, see all these states, they're my territory. And then this is another person that has too much territory. And frankly, this is another person that has too much territory. And this is a person that has too much territory because they also have the home place. So we're not looking to put more of my color out here just so I travel more.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not about that. But if it makes sense, you know, we will look to do it. Capacity is there to brew twice as much beer as we do now. Last year we brewed about 20,000 barrels. So. Brewery itself, from here back is a whole new section. It used to be just the front section. With the addition of the back section, we've moved a lot of stuff around in the brewery. Like I said, it is open for tours, basically Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but also anytime that you are driving through, and especially if you work for Portastic and you're driving through, give me a call, let me know, and stop, and somebody will stop what they're doing and give you a full tour.
Oh, that's cool.
This is the brewing tower. So it kind of looks cool this way, but it's a panoramic photo that didn't quite come out. It is, so the tower is a straight line with 4 tanks lined up in a row, and this sits in the middle, the control panel. I'm not sure why it looks curved, but it's not. So just picture all 4 sitting out there. Fermentation tanks, we have 8 of these. These are 60s. We have 2 120s that we do Southern Pecan. There's the 120s. And if you see the building and then see the tanks, you'll understand why they're outside. They are now inside. And remember when that shot 3 pictures ago where the brewery went like this? It's built like that to house these. Okay, so they are inside now, but they were outside for quite a while.
It's built around it.
Huh?
It's just built around it.
Yeah. So we set them there, we mounted them, and you know, they're all glycol wrapped and stuff, and you just use a lot more energy in the summertime, or you try to decide if it's, you know, if it's going to be a really, really hot week, do we have enough tanks inside that we can brew inside and not worry about these for the, you know, the week or whatever. So bottling line, we have one. We actually have 2. So we have 2. This is the old one. We have a new one coming in right now as we speak. It will be installed in the next 2 weeks. One of the cool things about it is right now we have a born on date plus 120 days is when we say our beer is best by. The new bottling line, A, will have a pasteurizer with it, but B, will also take and dry the bottles, so our bottles go in rinsed and therefore wet, and therefore when you're packing in the 6-packs, you get some dampness and some condensation on that, and the outer carton. So all of that will be alleviated. The other thing that it does is this bottling line poofs carbon dioxide on top and then puts the cap on. Our new one will fill the bottle with carbon dioxide and then fill it with beer. Carbon dioxide being heavier than air will stay in the bottle, but then just be displaced by beer, but the top of it will just be carbon dioxide. So we're hoping to extend our 120 days, probably to 180. But what we'll do is as soon as we get new bottles off that line, put a lot away, send them off, you know, start analysis, start figuring out what we can do. But that's very good news that we're excited for right now. Our bottling line does do 750 bottles as well. So as does our new one, this one was basically a day of breakdown time and breakdown, retooling, using a lot of Allen wrenches on little tiny screws to move all the rails back, reset those, and run 750s through. I think that the new line will be even quicker with setup, and then is also going to do, and I'm not sure if we're going to do anything with this, we don't have plans, but it's set up to do heritage bottles too. So like this WC. I don't know, maybe someday, right? So no real plans to go to those anytime soon, but maybe. Part of the experience, this is also a panoramic picture, so there is one corner and it's right here. This is the front of the building, this is the side of the building. The first Friday of every month, we have a band come in, we have food trucks, we do the little tasting card that you do at, all your events here. And you get 12 tastes plus a tour for $10, I think, maybe 15, something like that. Yeah, it's a pretty good time. There again, and off tape, so if you're on tape here, mute this, but if you do work for Portastic, certainly let somebody know when you're a guest of ours, and we'll make sure that you have enough tasting cards. All right. Some of the culture, and this is where I probably got hung up in January. I like to talk about our people a lot. This is Mark, the owner, the electrical engineer that is donating his hair for Locks of Love. I donated mine twice for Locks of Love, actually before this company, but when I was courting with them and we were interviewing, or whatever you want to call that, I was like, really? Y'all did that? And so every September they'll come in, and anybody that's got hair long enough, that's part of that first Friday event, and do the Locks of Love event.
Cool.
Every first Friday has some sort of music, and the proceeds from that night go to a local charity. So it might be Habitat for Humanity, or it might be the Closed Shelter, or any of the things that they do there on the Gulf Coast. But it's a nice way, to sort of support the community that supports us.
Yeah.
And then there's just a whole lot of water down there. So, you can find some cool spots like that all around the brewery, and sit and drink some beer. With that, is that good enough that we can start drinking some beer?
I think so.
All right.
Do y'all have any questions specifically about the brewery?
No, I noticed that it said it was the oldest brewery, but you said it's only 11 years old.
It is. So 12 years ago, hold on, I'll come back in there.
Okay, sorry.
Those like laws or something that were.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was curious. I was like, interesting.
So we are 11 years old.
Yeah.
12 years ago, they thought it was illegal to brew beer in Mississippi. And so the way the story goes is Mark had been homebrewing for a while. Mark and Leslie. Leslie bought Mark a homebrew kit for Christmas one year because she didn't know what else to get him. The way that he tells the story, he was allowed to brew exactly one batch of beer. And for the second batch, she's like, if we're going to make this work, he's like, I thought this was my Christmas present. She's like, no. Yeah. If we're going to make this work, if you want good beer, I need a wort chiller. He's like, I don't know what that is, right? So he studied it, looked it up online, went, I can build up one of those, like no problem. And I can twist some copper tubing around an old PVC pipe and make it fit, and attach some fittings on the top and have a garden hose out and a hose in. And we're good. Sorry, am I too loud?
Oh, no, it's okay.
So,
Bring
Do we
baby.
know pour some?
yeah.
There you
There you go.
go.
It's like, that sounds very familiar. Story.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it tastes the same. So yeah, he went to, he goes to the state, says, I want to open a brewery. They're like, oh, no, you can't do that. That's illegal. He's like, I heard that. I've heard that a couple different places. Can you show me exactly where it says it's illegal? Yeah, we'll get back to you this afternoon. We'll send you over we'll email it to you. So that night, sort of comes and goes. The next morning he calls, he says, hey, I was going, yeah, we're having trouble finding that. He goes, all right, well, keep looking and let me know. And the next day he called, and I go, we know it's gotta be illegal. He's like, really?
So, oh wow.
So somebody else calls and says, beer doesn't really fall under ABC rules. It falls under agriculture. He's like, what? They're like, yeah, I don't know why, but it falls under agriculture. You got to call this other guy. So he calls this other guy and says, hey, I'd like to open a brewery. And the other guy goes, yeah, all right, send me $100 and your federal approval and we'll get you going. He's like, really? He goes, that's it? He goes, yeah, because everybody in Mississippi thinks it's illegal. Like, how come there isn't more of them? He goes, oh no, you're the first one to ask.
Oh my God, no way.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
So now there are, depending on how you count.
So most of the beer in Mississippi was just imported prior to that, or what?
Yeah.
Wow.
So now there's about 7 breweries in Mississippi. So some are Mississippi only, some are keg only, some are self-distributed, some are brew pubs, right?
Yeah.
And that was 5. So, there's Southern Prohibition comes out of the state quite a bit. I don't know if you all know SoPro. Okay, so Southern Prohibition comes out, and then Lazy Magnolia comes out of the state.
Oh wow,
Who's got
that's
the largest
cool. How
distribution.
crazy! So it legit is like one of the oldest brewery. Okay. Or
Yeah, so it's the oldest
brewery.
brewery in Mississippi. This is our flagship beer, Southern Pecan. It's 4.5% alcohol. It is
Delicious.
It is delicious.
Yeah, that it is.
That might be my 3rd one today.
This is the most popular.
It is. It is 70% of our sales.
That's fast.
Oh wow.
It is not an IPA, right? So how odd is that? Because a lot of places, their number 1 is either an IPA or a hopped up 47.5% pale ale, right? Or something like that. We've made this one for 11 years. We use whole roasted pecans. We actually roast them in an old Popeye's biscuit oven. And that's the only thing at the brewery that hasn't broken down in 11 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, if you ever see a Popeye's biscuit oven on the side of the road, get it. It'll be
The biscuits are pretty good too.
Yeah. Right? 20, there's a sell sheet in a couple pages, 26 IBUs, 23 IBUs, so it's going to be low. Very malt forward. Some people say, I can't taste the pecans. And if you want to sit and have a whole conversation with them, you can find out when the last time they just had a mouthful of pecans that A, wasn't candied, wasn't in a pie, just took a pecan off the road, cracked it with their hand against another pecan and ate it. Because other than just north of here, like a little bit, a lot of people don't do that. And, you get up in the New Braunfels and everybody does that, right?
Yeah.
So most people here know what pecans taste like plain. As we get further away from South Texas or Mississippi or Southern Louisiana, people tend to know what a plain, unadulterated nut pecan tastes like.
Yeah.
So what questions do you have about the Southern pecan?
One thing that I've gotten a lot of comments about this one is like comparing it to the 512, the pecan porter.
Yep.
Obviously this is a much lighter beer than that is. And I think that that's a good selling point for it, because a lot of people that want something kind of similar, but it's, still very different because this is a lot easier drinking, not as filling, not as heavy. So it's a good alternative for that.
It is. So, and great point, because South Texas has a lot of 512 pecan porter out there. And a lot of people say, oh, that's your pecan porter? And I'm like, yeah, it's a pecan, not brown ale. Like, I try to correct them, like easy, going. But you'll get a lot of that down here that we don't get virtually anywhere else, right?
And especially since we're in San Antonio, so
Right
close
by
to Austin.
Yep.
It's even bigger here than it is in Houston, and I can just imagine that you're gonna get a lot of comparison to that going into tastings.
This one is sweeter, it is lighter. I mean, it's not as sweet because they've got some syrupy taste going on.
Yeah, from what it's been a while since I've had that one, but yeah.
Yeah, but when you do it side by side, this one's a little bit cleaner, lighter,
Definitely.
a little bit more sessionable, and that one's better with a cigar and a porter. You know, porterhouse steak sitting on the back porch, right? So, we'll have our time and place. Any other questions or comments on the pecan? And we can do, so I brought plenty of beer. We can do a couple different things. You can enjoy pecan. We can move on to the next one. We can see what's on that next slide because I really don't remember. So, I guess we'll keep talking about the people then. So Mark and Leslie have 2 kids under 3 years old. So they feel they know what you're going through here, right? And they didn't do a whole lot of traveling the last couple of years. Before that, they did a lot of traveling. So when somebody like Central Market did their, craft beer week, which isn't the same time as American Craft Beer Week, which is actually right now, Leslie would come out and help do promos and stuff like that, different events. She's starting to do that a little bit more. She is coming to Houston this year for American Craft Beer Week, and then from there we're going up to Dallas as well. So we will miss this area. I guess the other thing, Google had a little contest, describe your business in 5 words, and they actually made they got some award for the best brewery answer or something like that. So Southern Romance with every beer was their business in 5 words. So it's all about at the brewery a whole lot more than just pushing out a lot of beer, and not a whole lot on Shotgun Fridays and stuff like that. It's not that type of feel at the brewery. When the big flooding went on last year, just north of here, I got a phone call pretty early in the morning. Hey, are all our distributor people okay? Everybody that you work with okay? Do they need anything? They lost their house during Katrina. One of the hard things so Katrina was 07?
Yeah, I think so.
So we opened in 05 and had a whole lot of debt. So they completely lost their house. They're running a brewery. They're sleeping on people's couches. They're paying for that in beer, right? They're doing all this other stuff. And one day a banker comes to the brewery and starts looking around. Mark said, "Can I help you?" He's like, "Yeah." So your note's due on this. He's like, "What do you mean my note's due?" He's like, "Well, that loan that you took out, the collateral was your house, and you don't have a house anymore. So it's due.
Oh man.
This is all mine now." He's like, no, it can't be. And the bank was going to try to take it away. And he got with some other friends that were other bankers and, made some stuff happen real quick. But they're like, yeah, you don't have your collateral anymore because it's gone.
Yeah.
So this is due. Yeah. So the trials and tribulations of the startup breweries, thank God we're, beyond a lot of that at 11 years in. And we can sort of forecast pretty well who's going to order what and make sure that we're making the right beer at the right time. 2 of the people that help make us the right beer at the right time and get it to the right place is Travis and Muriel. Muriel and I talk at least on email 2 or 3 times a day. Travis and I talk at least once a day on email, just making sure orders are really going to the right spot. Empty kegs are really coming back. All of that logistical stuff that happens goes through these 2 people. And with that, we get to beer. So, you want to pull the hospitality? Anybody? a bigger IPA fan than a nut brown ale fan.
Oh no, I like this one.
Excellent.
Good, yeah.
I like all beer.
Yeah.
I can't turn down beer.
That's one of my problems too. So we're gonna see a couple things on these slides, and I'll explain them while we're getting these beers out. The Lazy Dozen pack on the top right, there's a lot of states that think this is a great thing. It's a variety pack, it's a 12-pack. It is the same price as 2 6-packs of ours, and so far nobody really in Texas has jumped on it. The distributor in Beaumont has gotten some and is doing some stuff with independent liquor, but in the world of San Antonio and Houston, if I don't have specs on board and I don't have HEB on board, it's really going to be tough to sell something like a variety pack. So they're not here for now. I'm sure if you see them in the future, we'll get an email first and we'll, let everybody know. The other thing, thank you. I just put my nose in it. Feels exactly the same as the last time I put my nose in it. The other thing that you'll notice, Lazy Saison over here, fairly limited release. We don't have any today. I don't think that there's a single case in San Antonio at the moment, although there's like 6 or 7 cases in Silver Eagle warehouse. So there's a chance that some of it could come up. It is, so it's the same color blue as another beer that you may know from Belgium that might be out there that some people occasionally put an orange in. And that's not a mistake on the color. We figured if we could get right next to that and get some of that trade-off, that would be a great thing. In reality, we've got a little bit more spice going on, a little bit more banana in the nose, and it's probably not a starter craft for a lot of people. It's a pretty big saison. So I think in that a lot of people didn't want to try it because they're like, oh, it's just a 5.5%er. And then a lot of people that did try it want to try it because they're seeing new stuff like easy drinking, like the pecan or the hospitality come out. And then that one's a little bit more in your face with the Belgian characteristics. So it's one of my favorite beers, and it's not selling, and that saddens me. But what can you do? The other 3 on the front porch, so these are all line price. Southern Pecan, Southern Hospitality, our coolest name, and Jeff Stout, Sweet Potato Stout. We have all 3 of those there here today. Anybody taste the hops?
Yeah.
So 5.5% alcohol. Dry hop with citra hops. So you get a lot of that grapefruit, tropical fruit.
You're right about it being really well balanced too.
Yeah.
So I'm not really a big IPA person at all.
Okay.
You don't have that bitter.
Well, no, because
aftertaste.
he had mentioned earlier, like, sometimes it hits you in the face kind of deal.
Yep.
Like, yeah, and that's usually the turn off for me, but it is, I could drink that.
Awesome. These are, confession time. These are out of my refrigerator at home. And I said 120-day shelf life. I think these say 122 on them. So they're a little over. It's not hurting it any. The fresher you get, the more grapefruit you get. And it's not that you get more hops or more bitterness. It's just that you get a little bit more of that fresher grapefruit taste. So this one's tasting fine, but had I been thinking this morning and on my way down and running around town, I would have probably picked something up that, was March or April.
Is it just grapefruit? Is there any other citrus fruits in there?
So there's no grapefruit juice in there. It's just citra hops as the dry hop. So yeah, you might get a little bit of mango, a little tropical fruit.
That's what I'm kind of tasting.
Tropical.
Yeah.
Tropical fruit, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, that's mango. Yeah.
And if you grew up around pine, you might get a little bit of pine. So we actually use 5, maybe 6 hops. So man, it's really hard to talk knowing that I'm going to get quizzed because the sheets are going to come out. Nugget Simcoe. maybe one other as the first hop edition. Centennial and Cascade are the last hop edition, and that's where you get the pine, and then Citra dry hopped.
Does it say on the bottle?
I don't think it does.
No.
I know it says on the
Bottle.
on the box, right?
Not on the
Does it say
6-pack
bottle?
carrier now,
Okay.
but watch, I can go like this. Let's go.
Mike, can you stick that up?
Go ahead. Let's skip ahead. So there is Southern Pecan cell sheet, and the IBUs, I was wrong, is 16.
Okay.
Southern hops. Citra, Cascade, Centennial, I got those. Nugget, Simcoe, and Summit. So it's close.
There's also some orange.
Yeah, I tend to taste the orange a little bit less in the hospitality. Our rye IPA is Nugget and Zythos, and all about the orange. So once you taste that, you're like, yeah, I can't even find orange in this. It's got so much. So let me back way up. So this is called, and we actually had a little issue with copyright. So this is not our front porch series brand. But let me tell you this story about the porches real quick, and then we'll pull out the Jeff Stout. So picture yourself in southern Mississippi, little white house, picket fence, you got a porch, there's Johnny riding his bike, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are over there, you wave to them, you got some buddies over, somebody else comes up and they just, they're new to the neighborhood, you welcome them up to the porch and you have a beer, right? These beers are 4.5 to 5.5% alcohol, so some people would call them sessionable beers. They're affordable. There's something that we can share with people. And there's something that Mr. and Mrs. Smith or Johnny, can sit there and watch us as we drink them, right? So that's our front porch. And when you move from the front porch to the back porch might be the area where you don't really want your neighbors knowing what you're doing so much, right? You don't want to share the beers with them necessarily because they're your special beers. And they tend to be a little bit higher in alcohol. So we really don't want Johnny and Mr. and Mrs. Smith watching us. So they're our back porch series. Timber Beast leads that and is a year-round offering. These three change up every couple years. Geez Louise, I did not bring, and that was dumb of me to not bring it. The reason why I did not bring it, so I have a good reason, but I didn't really realize or remember that it was up here on the slide. The good reason for not bringing it is Silver Eagle did not bring it in any cases. So it's not going to be anything that you're going to be tasting with people. But God, it's a cool beer. So it's a jalapeno pale ale. And it's got just enough jalapeno in it that it makes you go, oh, that's got jalapeno in it. And then you taste it and you get a little bit of that jalapeno and then a really, really short finish. Because we want you to be able to drink 2 or 3 of them, right? Going back to that whole well-balanced thing. So you go, just enough jalapeno that I really want nachos right now. That's the typical response to this beer. But a whole lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun with it. Silver Eagle just was a little bit hesitant on bringing it in, not knowing what HEB or specs would do. There again, the two big people driving. Huh?
There's like Katie Brewery that does the Don jalapeno.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
And
it's good.
I tried that last
Once it
week.
warms up, like all you get is jalapeno.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's hot. And
So, who is it up north? Tubbs? No, Tubbs Brewery? Okay, they're up in McKinney. So they might be Dallas only, but they have a Poblano ale that's got just enough heat that it's not as big as like Ballast Point's Habanero Scalton or anything like that, but still you're like, all right, I drank one. Like, what's next? And ours is like your third one. And okay. What I did bring is a couple bottles of Bramblin' Man. Now, the good and the bad of the Bramblin' Man, and we'll taste that, but we'll taste the just stout first. Brand Man, we took that whole same concept with a sour beer. And we brewed half a sour beer, soured it, half a Bavarian wheat, clean, and married the two. And when we did, we came up with a half sour. My boss is like, you know what, I don't like sours, and this is my third one. And that's exactly what we're going for, right? So it's got just enough sour, and we'll taste it, and I'll probably taste it just before you, just to make sure, because it is old now. But I had some in my fridge, and I figured I'd bring it out. It is something that Sober Eagle is bringing out. It will hit the stores in July, and hopefully, especially Total Wine and Specs will have it in. Twins should have it. Gabriel's will probably have it. I'm not sure that HEB will. And then Freeze Morning is October through January, and that is our winter warmer. Anybody get to taste Rar's winter warmer last year?
No, last year, but we've had it
We've
before.
had it before.
Okay. So that's what I was going for. That was my vote. I was like, just copy that. Here. It's done. Just copy that. But we'll see what they come up with.
Oh, so that one hasn't been brewed or tested or anything yet?
No, so we came up with a name. That's about it.
So are those the 8 beers that come out of Lazy Magnolia then?
They are, with a couple weird exceptions
Oh, okay.
in 750. So last year we did a Belgian quad called 10, 10% alcohol, 10 ingredients, inspired by the Southern Pecan recipe. So we basically took Southern Pecan's recipe, doubled the fermentables, added some Belgian candy sugar, used a Belgian yeast. Bottle conditioned 48 months. It's going to be a better beer than it is this year, and it's already fantabulous. It is awesome. And not a real winter area.
Oh, you keep doing that.
I know.
It is right up the road. It is in Austin.
That's in Austin.
It is in
Gonna
Austin.
be in Houston?
No.
Also no.
Yeah. Negative.
Aaron pre-sold it during a trade show, and they won't bring it in. So I'll get into that whole trials and tribulations some other day. But we have a bourbon barrel aged imperial stout coming out in October. Keep your fingers crossed, and I'll try to push it too, especially with Specs, and we'll see what we can get done. Our website is www.lazymagnolia.com. In there, you hit this distributor login. Password's lazy, all lowercase, and every sell sheet, everything that we've ever done that's slightly creative will be in there, because we want to share that out with everybody. So you have full access to anything that we have. Things like our slick about being one of the 101 best beers in North America by Men's Journal, and then all of our slow slicks. So with that, you want to grab the Jeff Stout. So with that, what questions do you have?
Nothing coming to mind right now.
All
What
right.
have y'all thought so far on the two that we've tasted?
Just Southern Pecans, so my preference.
Awesome. So interestingly enough, and I try not to be sexist in my daily life, women tend to like Southern Pecan more. So if I am at a tasting event, or if I'm in a Total Wine and there's a guy standing there and he's trying the beers, and I go, would you like some too? And she's like, I don't really usually like beer. And I have 4 of them open. I'll try her on Southern Pecan only.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try her on Southern hops because
Because
it tastes like every other IPA,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Jeff Stout,
Oh, thank you.
and we'll talk about this one in a second because we haven't yet. Jeff Stout's going to be a little bit dark for her, and I try to say, you know, color's not a taste. Don't be scared of the dark. And try that way. But 9 times out of 10, people will try Southern Pecan, and even non-beer drinkers, and especially women, have an affinity for that beer. And then if you say there's a woman brewmaster, it sort of seals the deal, right?
Yeah, I know, that's cool. I mean,
Yeah,
I like that.
there you go. So, Southern Pecan, anybody need to see more on the hospitality sell sheet? And I think we have this all in like some
Yes,
resource
it's all
center
on
for
the
you,
knowledge
right?
base.
Oh, okay,
Knowledge
cool,
base.
cool.
Yeah, if I get north of here, north of, the couple states that I'm in, Missouri and Kansas, it's sort of touch and go whether I want to start talking about Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederate Army. And why we thought he was so cool that we need to name a beer out after him. And yes, there's still a Confederate flag hanging up in the brewery and all that kind of stuff. So I try to stay away from that. But you'll notice on this label and on the package, it says Jefferson Stout. On the bottle, it just says Jeff Stout. It's purely by design because you couldn't fit the whole word Jefferson on the label. But every once in a while you come into a tasting and somebody named Jeff is there and they end up liking this beer. They think it's their beer and I let them go with it, right?
If it sells it.
Yeah.
So sweet potato cream stout. We use sweet potatoes like a lot of people use oatmeal. Oatmeal's not real big in Mississippi. It's a grit state.
Yeah.
It's tough to brew good beer with grits. So we needed to find some other soluble starch. Sweet potatoes fits a bill for us. We actually use a 33-gallon industrial barrel of sweet potatoes in every single batch. They're roasted.
Do you use them like whole in the mash, or is it just?
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay.
And by the time it's done, it's time to after we've sparged and we're dumping the grains for the hogs, there's no
It's just
sweet
like
potato.
mash, or or it just dissolves.
It's gone.
Really?
It's 100% soluble into the water with a 1-hour boil. And it is a soluble starch for us that gives us body and mouthfeel that makes it taste like a stout. What's the date on this one?
What's the date?
11/20/15.
Yeah, so this one's a little old too, and I can taste that, so it's got a little twang.
Yeah.
It's got a little twang to
That's
it.
a good word for that, but yeah.
Just a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, and so my apologies, A. But B, know that if it's coming up close to date, it's still probably gonna taste fine. Like, I would sit down and drink this.
Might be discounted a little bit.
Right, well, and then you can buy something and take home. Some of the cool things that we've done with this beer is make ice cream floats with it. And one of the reasons with it is the vanilla ice cream will take your caramel chocolate and coffee and separate the flavors. So you get all the chocolate right up front. You get caramel mid with all the cream in it. And then, you get coffee mid and then caramel at the end. So that's fun. 4.5%. People that are afraid to try it because the only dark beer they've ever had is Guinness. If you actually get them to try it, are pretty surprised on how light and easy drinking it is and how fluid it is. So they're used to heavier syrupy beers. So what questions do you have on the Jeff Stout? Other than why did I serve something else? 3 months out of date.
I still like it. This is my favorite of the Front Porch series. I love the Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
So fun on one.
You see if they're all from the same day?
Yeah. That was actually. Fun on draft for sure.
Out of these 3 that we've tasted, this one, at least from what I've seen, tends to be the hardest to sell. But like he said, when you get people to try it, or you get the people that like stouts, it is something just a little bit different,
16 proof.
and they don't tend to like it.
So feel free to pop that, especially if somebody wants to taste something that's
Is it
2 months fresher.
Yeah.
I just said it's my favorite. Why wouldn't I want to-
Right? Why would you want to do that? And then I'll open a Brown Man as well. Timber Beast, you're not gonna see much of. Lazy Saison, like I said, you're not gonna see much of, which is a shame because it's one of my favorite beers. Timber Beast, do we have any? I think there's one 6-barrel in town at the brewery. There's one here. I'm gonna pop that.
Yeah.
Taste it real quick, just to. Does that taste different?
A little bit, I just had one little sip there.
Okay.
Did you get some of the fresh one, Carlos?
Yes,
Have
yes.
you got-
Fresh
This is the fresher
Yeah.
version of the same one.
It's a little creamier, I think.
Yeah. So you get a little bit of cream. That it's just got the older one's got a weirdness right mid palate. That's
This one's a lot smoother. I think.
yeah.
I can feel like I feel like I can taste the sweet potato a little bit more. And this one
Okay.
yeah.
In the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
After going 3, I'm like, hitting the child.
How are you feeling about it?
It's interesting.
I like how smooth it goes down.
The Jeff Stout.
Yeah.
Jeff Stout's a lot of fun. I had one person taste it last year at Untapped and went, "This is the perfect the perfect stout for the beach." And I'm like, you know what? I would never ever take a stout to the beach, but if I did, you're right. Like I get it. She's like, I would, and this is it. So not only are you pouring beer on yourself, you're pouring sour beer on yourself.
Actually, there was a hole in the.
Oh, okay. Nice. So yeah, it's a sour. So it started out like a sour beer. It didn't get better.
Same
It's
thing?
probably gone. No, this is September.
It's another one too.
So this was the last time we made Grambler Man last year. That's why I still have some.
I mean, paranoid that there's holes in the box.
So yeah, taste if you have a thing for sours, if you like sours, if you just want to see what a sour tastes like. That's it. Know that Grambler Man's gonna be a little bit fresher, a little bit more blackberry, so I can't taste hardly any blackberry. I get a little bit.
You got a little bit, yeah.
So you get a little bit more blackberry on it, but the sour is probably right about where it would be. So when we cut it, we did throw it through a filter, so it wasn't going to go extra loud in the bottle. It's just that some of the flavor has come out. Got some of the sour too.
I think I would really like that one.
Yeah.
The sour one?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, I like sours, but yeah, that one.
I didn't know I like sours until we were so Houston.
Really?
And I tried Mike's beer and I was like, ooh,
So
that
that
was
one?
good.
Yeah, this one.
Oh yeah. There you go.
Coffee light ball over here.
There you go. So that was the bottle of 10. So the Belgian quad that we did. Still a couple of those that can be found. Pretty cool bottle shop in Austin if you're ever up that way on the Mar called Witchcraft. So if you know Witchcraft, they've got some 10 there. Any events that you do, if you want to tag, and y'all are quite a bit younger than me, so you understand what I'm about to say, because I don't. If you want to tag the brewery, they will turn around, because there's somebody young and cool there that knows what she's doing, and she'll turn around and like retweet it or repost it or redo whatever. So you can say, hanging out tonight at Lazy Magnolia from 4 to 7 at HEB 20. Come by and see me, and then do your little at Lazy Magnolia, and they'll put it out to the 8,000 people that follow us.
Cool, that's cool.
So a cool way to maybe get a
Spreading the word, yeah.
get a fan there or somebody there that
Mhm.
wants to talk about Mississippi or whatever.
Talk about the kill.
There you go.
I had one person that told me that they've never heard of Kill, Mississippi. Like, they're like, I'm from Mississippi, and I've never heard of Kill, Mississippi. And I was like, okay, well, me neither.
Yeah. So
I'm not from Mississippi.
I just say it's right on 10, and it's right between Biloxi and New Orleans.
Yeah.
And then they start going, well, is it by? And I'm like,
Yes.
I told you what I know.
I told you everything I know. It's right on 10. So, Dave at lazymagnolia.com. I'll hand out my phone number. There's beer that you can take home that you can share with your friends that Sons can get it away from him because it's in his house at the moment. But if you want to grab one or two and take them home, feel free. I think we've got 2 tastings set up this month or something like that. Our goal is,
Make sure there's no questions that came up.
oh, there you go. Our goal is to get probably 3 a month here and continue with Houston as well. We seem to be on a roll there. And so if you're doing a tasting for somebody else and you know that wine store well, and you can say, hey, we have Lazy now, would you like to, take that in? And, it can go up that way too.
Yeah.
So I'm all about the right accounts. So if you guys have relationships with accounts, let's use those and, try to get some better distribution.
Mhm.
Not a huge fan of just sampling one beer.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
90% of the stores that you're going to walk into is already going to have pecan in there. If you can get one more, that's great. If you can't, but it's the absolute right account to do a tasting in, and we need to be doing tastings there, I'm fine with the one. But I'd really love to taste 2 or 3.
Yeah.
What would be your second choice? Your most popular second choice?
Right now, hospitality, just because it's warmer out. September on, Jeff Stout, because it's cooler out.
Mhm.
And even though it's a light, nice, easy stout, it's still about to be 107 in here,
At the beach, there's water, so.
There you go. That's it. Any other questions?
So there might be 2 of them, or there might not be after the tastings in the next couple of weeks. Or
When we
only
book
be
them,
Lazy.
we try to have them do 3.
What?
When they've been booked, we try to ask for 3.
Okay.
If they're available, it's kind of up to the store of which ones, or if they bring them in, or what's also available for us to get. 3 is always our ideal number, but then obviously from there, if they only do 2, we do 2, and then like Dave said, if we can only do 1.
Well, while it's not ideal,
Yeah.
if it gets us better placement, gets us 5 cases on the floor, and he says, do it this one time, and next time I bring in hospitality, or I'll bring in that stout next time if this one goes well. Go ahead and do it. But HEB has them all authorized, Specs has them all authorized, those 3. There was one Specs. All right, so I used to live here, but the whole town looks completely different now. Huge, the largest HEB store, it's like that way. It's on,
Bandera and 604?
yeah.
No, but that's a new
The
one.
Bluffs.
That's a new one.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's the biggest
Right,
one.
but it wasn't even there, it was like a field when I lived here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So-
no, yeah.
Right around the corner, like
Oh,
in the
big
same
Specs.
parking lot, there's a
Mhm.
Specs there.
Yeah.
That Specs doesn't have hospitality, and I don't know why. But the other 9 in town have all 3 of those.
Yeah, okay.
So that Specs only has Jeff Stout and Southern Pecan, and I'm fine with doing one in there with just those 2.
Yeah.
So, The other thing that I've talked about long-term with Amber, and I guess we're still recording, but I guess this is okay, it's sort of out there. But if you took on somebody like Sonoma that was doing ciders or something like that, something that's not, so I wouldn't want you to taste Newcastle Brown Ale while you were tasting Southern Pecan, but if it's something way out there, maybe we can do some sort of table so that we're maximizing your time there and having 3 beers and 3 beers that don't compete, even though they're not free from us. We still need to work out the details on if that could happen, but I'm pretty open to such scenarios.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah. I guess if there's any other questions or
I was gonna say,
comments,
these are, the good thing about these are they're mild, it's not like overpowering flavors. I think that'll be good to sell to more people. Like sometimes like the IPAs are too hoppy.
Yeah.
And that turns a lot of people on. It's like too
Mhm.
much for them, especially if it's like a fruit.
Yep.
They're not crazy
Trust
about IPAs.
Right.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. It's worked out really well for us, especially in chain markets like we have here.
Yep.
So, places like Witchcraft Bottle Shop, I talked about it, it's a very cool shop, but my beers are a little bit underwhelming to some of the people that come in there because they're so beer geeky that they're like, I want it more special, and you're like, all right, but imagine you sitting down and actually drinking 2 of them rather than drinking 2-ounce cups with all your friends.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of beers that I like in 2-ounce cups that I can't drink a whole one of. And the cool thing about ours is I can drink whole ones. Cool. So.
And the Rambling Man, can you tell me about that one again?
So that one's the half sour,
That's
and that one's also out of date. So it's probably 3/4 sour now. But it was a sour blackberry blended with Bavarian wheat. So our idea was to introduce people to sour beers without making it over the top.
It's good. I love it.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi,
Hey.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. You got some catching up to do. We're gonna watch you drink. Go ahead.
No, I mean, if there's no other questions or comments, I'll turn the recordings off. Make sure there's nothing coming through online, which it doesn't look like.
No questions from online? Excellent. Cheers.
Can you shut it off? Just hit end broadcast.